Today we speak about a big topic in few minutes. What is spirituality, and what is the difference between spirituality and religion, because there is a lot of confusion about that. People always think that they are the same thing. First of all, spirituality is not a choice, but is a necessity of the soul for self-evolution, for self-development, for inner growth. So it's basically the list of learnings that our soul ideally has to go through in each and different reincarnation, if you believe in that. So I always like believing the idea that there is a reincarnation office for which our soul can go in the transition between one life and the other one, and make an agreement according, of course, to what something that is coming from the karmic point of view. So it's not a free will, but for all the actions, because karma in Sanskrit means action, so for all the actions there are, of course, consequences, that something that has to the priority according to how heavy our karmic seeds are and when they need to develop. So they will have the priority in the lessons that we need to learn the following life. But I always like the idea of thinking that we go to this reincarnation office and we are aware about this moment, and we make an agreement, or would be also the so-called soul contract, and saying, look, in the next reincarnation, the next body reincarnation, as a soul, I would like to learn this and that lesson. Of course, how this is going to happen is not in our power to know. And we need to be also ready to accept all the challenges, because they are the best ways for us to learn the lessons of compassion, the lessons of unconditional love, of learning how to have more patience. So normally the people and the situations that are challenging us in our life are those that are able to let us learn and understand what are our limitations, what are our full potential. So they are actually normally the best way, because when things are going well and everything is fine, we are not challenging ourselves. We are not going over our limitations. We are not expanding our horizons. We are not fighting over something that for which we need to improve ourselves. So then we have the concept of religion, which is one of the many ways, like for example shamanism as well, which is not a religion, one of the many ways that we can use for our inner growth, for spirituality. So it's a tool, religion, that is at service of spirituality. When the religion, which is a container of specific beliefs, is a practice without being aligned with spirituality, that religion doesn't have any sense, because it just becomes a tool at service of man. And the third element would be then the institution. So the amount of specific, let's say the label that the man decide to place upon those beliefs, so that we belong to one specific group and not the other one. But then the point would of course be when, for example, Buddha was alive, was Buddha Buddhist? When Jesus was alive, was he Christian? Of course not, because they, in the times they were alive, they were sharing their teachings. And specifically, they were sharing their words verbally and in a different way to all their disciples, because each person is different and each person needs different words for their soul to evolve, for their soul to learn their lessons. That's why when they died, all the disciples at some point met and said, okay, I received these teachings, I received the other one. And so the disciples that had been shared something that was similar decided then to start that specific school of Buddhism, for example, and the others started a different one. That's why, for example, we had traditions that, like the Theravada tradition, that was started in Thailand, and following other traditions. They separated in different schools, and there is where the element of the human mind arrived, the divisions. Because in a common visions, if all the different schools still remember and never forget that they are all part of one religion, even if the institutions are different and still connected to spirituality, then they are able to share simply different ways. And in the same way, in shamanism, all the different traditions, you may find that the first tradition that is coming to you is the one of the Native American, and then at some point you change and you approach, for example, the Japanese traditions, then it's your own homework to place and combine all the difference and take them to your heart. And then, of course, here would come the questions, for example, in the religions, are all the religions part of the same thing? I would say personally that they're all part of the same spirituality, but then when you are in a specific religious path, you need to be in that path because there are specific ways, so that at least you can understand fully and entirely in following that traditions. And then it's your personal choice, in the same way I did. Started with one religion, moved to the other one, and then my personal approach and way at the moment is working with all together the different spirit guides and divine elements in the different traditions for my personal way of believing that. But if we, of course, this is a personal approach, or also in the same of the shamanic traditions, I then decided to merge with the different spirits, regardless of if they are coming from one path or the other one. But that is, of course, a personal journey that needs to be done. Because it's not something for which there is one rule only. It has to be always be a personal flow and a personal call to you. So what can happen in some way could be at some point of your life when you are on a path, still asking yourself, is this path still able to answer all my questions, or do I need to add something else which doesn't mean rejecting that path, it just means add on board something, extra seeds that we may or may not use, but at least they become extra elements for us to be able to be open to different visions and just not be in a closed way of believing one truth only, staying on one path only, but accepting that there are as many ways possible in our lives and different lives as the variety of human beings that are on earth.